Hi and welcome to Indigo Starfire. My name is Bevin, and in this video I'm going to be doing some quick little love notes from your person. There are 3 groups to choose from. Group 1 is the Carnelian heart. Group 2 is the Amethyst heart. And group 3 is the Obsidian heart. So if you want to take a moment to center, focus on your breathing, and feel whichever group, maybe multiple groups or perhaps all of the groups that you're most drawn to. I'll give you a minute to make your selection and then we'll get right into it. And there are timestamps in the description box of the video for each group if you would like to jump ahead. And up next is a close-up photo of the crystals to help you better make your selection. Hi, Group 1. You chose the Carnelian heart. So I'm going to be getting 3 cards from 3 different decks, and let's see, what does your person want you to know right now from their higher self? And they say, please don't feel disappointed with me. So they may be a little disappointed in themselves in terms of a hesitation to offer more towards you, give you a solid understanding of what their intentions are, long-term plans in the situation. They may be held back by fear or almost an energy of over-perfection at this time. Some kind of a conversation that wants to take place. Maybe it's an apology that's owed if you find yourself in a no contact or separation. And if this is somebody that you're currently interacting with, currently dealing with, it almost feels like they want to take things to the next level or to be more open with you, but it's a delicate matter in terms of how much do they really say, how much do they confess at this time. This may be somebody who feels a lot deeper for you than you are aware of. The feelings may run very deep. They have been there for quite a while. It's somebody who's trying to be very sort of mindful of their mistakes in this connection and in the past, if it's a separation and the idea of moving back towards you, but course correcting with different actions, different words, a different energy in order to hopefully generate different results. If this is someone you're currently dealing with, it feels that they are also being very mindful of kind of mishaps in love and other partnerships and is using this opportunity with you, these feelings that have blossomed, this sort of precipice of development that the two of you stand at, as a way to not only elevate the circumstances with you, but in some way to rewrite the script or narrative within themselves in terms of sort of the impression that they have had of love and partnerships. This may be somebody who, is kind of guarded, kind of defensive. Their heart has hardened after a series of heartbreaks. This could be a deeply emotional person that once they are wounded, they feel that very, very deeply and just kind of shut down, close off. But they have learned, maybe through this element of them, this quality of them that had really undermined the potential of other situations, other connections, that if they really hope to sort of elevate with you into something long-term, something mutually satisfying and with real growth potential, then it's going to require them discontinuing or moving beyond some sort of pattern or learned behavior, habit, coping mechanism, defense mechanism to sort of keep their emotions at bay, keep a safe and comfortable distance between themselves and anybody getting in too close or showing too much vulnerability to others. They also say your smile is making me melt every time I see your face. So you are definitely, just by your sheer presence, your personal magnetism, your energy, you are helping to break down these walls and barriers of resistance within your person. They may be watching you from afar, have witnessed some sort of glow up, or are seeing you from a fresh lens with fresh eyes. The idea of absence has made the heart grow fonder, or it feels like almost wiser in this instance, if it's a period of separation that you've been in. If this is somebody who you're currently dealing with, and again, they're presenting with a bit of emotional guardedness, pessimism. They're only giving so much and are kind of not seizing windows of opportunity to take things further, or even if things are flowing at a very comfortable pace between the two of you, there's a bit of trepidation about kind of what comes next in this situation. That might be sort of an internal struggle. They're trying to put on a happy face, trying to be as present and kind of high vibrational as possible when they are with you, but you may be very intuitive and sense that there's kind of something that they're holding back. That could be creating a lot of tension, a bit of uncertainty, a sense of like, are they getting ready to, take things to the next level? Are they getting level? Are they getting ready to dump me? Like what's happening here? What's going on here? And it feels like for a lot of you, this is just a situation where they're wanting to dive in deeper, but they're also not really sure exactly how to do that, or a bit hesitant about if the time is right, if they are ready to kind of push things to the next level, not wanting this to be a missed opportunity, and kind of just you remaining very centered and balanced in your presence, not chasing them, not putting pressure, not backing them into a corner, just kind of going about your life in a very, accepting energy, very present and in the moment with them, and, enjoying the time with them, expressing your kind of needs and your sort of envisionings for the connection. If you've reached the point with one another where those type of conversations have started to take place, they really see you as somebody who holds their own. You're standing in a very sovereign energy within yourself, and this is coaxing them almost beyond a degree of pessimism or self-protection, to where they're really sensing that if there is somewhere that is safe to try again as far as love, if there's somewhere that's safe to invest the emotional energy that they want to contribute, that they have to share with another person, this situation, you are a safe space for that exploration to begin. And they also say, sometimes I imagine how my life with you would feel. So they definitely are future minded, looking for a way around obstacles, internal obstacles, obstacles as far as a wall of silence, time that has passed, and kind of what is necessary in order to regain trust, to explain themselves, to present themselves in a different vibration from how the situation was left. Kind of the silence creating the energy of the mind will wander, and whatever sort of conclusions you may have come toward, maybe they're even sort of feeling or sensing or have heard through the grapevine of a bit of your, agitation, frustration with the situation, your sorrow, efforts that you have put in to sort of heal, grow, and evolve beyond the situation. That there's an energy of them not wanting to be left behind, wanting to come with you, wanting to accompany you on into the future, wanting to play their part in sort of repairing this situation, resurrecting this connection from the ashes. And at this point in time, that idea of imagination speaks to a lot of strategy. So scripting what they're going to say, and to a certain extent sort of anticipating, well, what if you react in this way? What if you respond in this way? What if it's not just a linear path forward in this circumstance? Even for someone you're dealing with currently, there is this energy of like how much to reveal at this point, how much to give, and understanding they need to keep some in reserve for themselves, some degree of mystery to kind of keep this connection bound in an energy that it can grow organically, rather than dumping fully into, these are the feelings that I've had for longer than you would imagine, and this is the totality of like the forever after that I sense with you. If you're still at the point of casually dating, they are very well aware that that could scare you off. It could sabotage these sort of new sprouts, this new growth potential that they are really wanting to invest in and feed into. But they are definitely wanting to take steps towards you with the idea of, I want us to become more than we are at this point. And I was just hearing, I want us to become more than friends. So for some of you, this can involve a friend who has feelings and is getting ready to take the next step, wanting to grow and evolve beyond that. But again, are they're sort of hesitant as far as like, okay, how much do I reveal? How much do I say? It's a delicate matter between sort of preserving what we have intact with each other at this point in time, but then expanding beyond that comfort zone in a certain manner, wanting to come to you in an energy that shows integrity, it shows reliability, it's an enticing offer, but something that you can rely upon. And they also say, I am the chaser, I am the moth to your flame. So this can definitely speak about somebody that is, a friend that has deeper feelings than they've let on, somebody that you are dating that has more long-term potential on the brain at this point. They are looking for that window of opportunity. They are preparing and planning that conversation to elevate things to the next level. If you've been in separation from this person, then this is something where they're wanting, you might have been in a runner-chaser dynamic. You might have been the chaser. You've given up that pursuit. You've reinvested that energy and focus on yourself. And this is essentially kind of boomeranged back to your person. All of that energy of pressure that they were feeling, that they've come to the point, it feels like, of what am I running from? They've really stopped to sort of look within, to analyze, to look around. They're seeing you and themselves in this situation from a new lens, and it feels like they're building up some stamina. They're building up the nerve. They're building up the courage to, really present you with something instead of you having to be the one to give and feed into this connection. Even to hold space for this person. It's a sense of finally kind of coming back around, finally wanting to take the lead in this situation to sort of move things beyond either the comfortable pattern you find yourselves in, if it's someone you're currently dealing with, or move beyond the silence and separation if you have been apart from one another. They also say, we are in this whirlwind together. So there may be a lot of energetic exchange back and forth. You may be picking up on, again, a bit of this person's kind of hesitation, guardedness, trepidation about taking the next step or having a big conversation. Maybe even if you're in separation with this person, you're sort of feeling a resurrection of them, energetically speaking, and kind of wondering to yourself, okay, is this, are they just trying to get me to take the bait here? Are we just, am I being tested? Is this just an opportunity presented by the universe for me to assert that I am kind of moving forward with my life? I'm choosing people that choose me the first time around. And so with that is kind of, your teaching, your reaction or response energetically is helping your person to calibrate sort of what they're moving towards you with. You picking up on a lot of this energetic pressure. It's almost like the tables have turned in some way. It may almost give you a glimpse into some degree of what they were feeling if this was a runner chaser dynamic, and at one point in time you were the chaser. What you might be experiencing now of kind of like picking up this sense of anxiety, picking up this sense of just like a wave of energy moving towards you. This may be something that is kind of, you're now walking a mile in their shoes, so to speak, and that can provide some sort of context of maybe some of the reasons just energetically and kind of subconsciously why they would have fled from something like that. It's the idea of like, okay, I don't want to be engulfed by this. I feel very overwhelmed. The desire, the yearning, the need in this situation it's intense. And it's something that kind of created sort of a marathon action on their part in another direction. Now they're pivoting back towards you. Now, at least, in the imagination, in the mind, their thoughts are focused on forward potential, future potential, rather than continuing to try to outrun and outmaneuver this situation. They're thinking of new ways, novel ways, and perhaps unique and for the first time ever ways to sort of get back into this situation and to build and to participate with you where they may have been sort of in and out, wishy-washy before. There's definitely an intensity here. This whirlwind of like change, breaking free from cycles and patterns that you've been in order to elevate and experience something new. If this is somebody that you're currently in a connection with, you're currently dealing with, again, it's the idea of this kind of energetic transference back and forth. Their mind is spinning around all the different possibilities, what to say, how that conversation is going to go, how much is too much to reveal at this point. What happens if I hold, key details back, and this sabotages the full intent and meaning of what I want to convey from being expressed, and then it limits sort of what we're able to grow into, or it's not enticing enough of an offer, it's not enough of an investment in order to sustain the growth in the next stage. It's all these possibilities and what ifs that in some way, based on the fact that kind of the principle of energy flows where attention goes. They have a lot of attention on this connection, sort of a bit on your history with one another, but it's a lot about where do we go from here. And so you might be swept up in the moment with this. You're right there in that whirlwind. You're on kind of the receiving end of that. And so that can almost be taken as a sign of a prelude for a lot of you, of a big conversation that's getting ready to take place, big intentions on your person's part to shift this narrative in some way. They also say you raise my spirit in every way. So definitely more of that confirmation of wanting to elevate beyond the current circumstances, wanting to come out from hiding, wanting to start over, wanting to reconcile, wanting to take things to the next level, or to even open the door to the expression and exploration of romantic feelings for the first time. If this is somebody that you are just friends with, it's kind of like flirtation, you're skirting around the idea of a connection with one another, but nothing has actually been spoken. They're holding a lot within. They're holding a very radiant energy within when it comes to you, and it may be something that is surprising and yet not surprising with what they reveal. And whatever that is, kind of with this full moon in the background here, it feels that even if it's the most kind of romantic, the sweetest declaration ever, it's just going to be the tip of the iceberg. This person has deeper feelings that they will let on at this kind of next stage. Initially it'll be something that'll have to be built up toward. If it's someone returning from the past, kind of wanting to start again, open that door again, what they're going to lead with, how they're going to sort of dip their toe in the water, what they're going to present to you. It's only going to be a fraction of kind of what they've realized, what they hold inside. But the magic of that is that element of the mystery, rather than kind of just giving away all the secrets. It's this slow build. It's this exploration. It creates new terrain for the two of you to really lay the groundwork, either for a reconciliation and like a fresh energy, learning from the mistakes of the past, course correcting for the future, or if this is just a next level, a next kind of manifestation of somebody that you're presently in a connection with. There's no separation, you're kind of just going through the motions of getting to know one another and building and developing. Again, it's a degree of sort of keeping an element of mystery, keeping an air of mystery. So you've got this territory to explore with one another. They open the door to this new landscape, and then you get the fun of kind of exploring these different dynamics, a widened perception of one another. Or in this instance, it feels like opening the door to their heart, and they kind of let you into this secret chamber within that few have ventured into, maybe no one in a very long time. It's a very sacred place within themselves. It's kind of this emotional purity within. This definitely could be somebody that presents a very stoic exterior, with all of that kind of guarded, sort of walled off energy. And so for them, it might feel something that it's like, okay, for you, it could be, okay, they're opening this up to the next level, but for them, it's like, this is a big deal. They haven't let anyone in this close in a while. They may be kind of out of their comfort zone with sort of dealing with love and romance and partnerships. They might be kind of inexperienced, relatively speaking, or they don't really know what they have to bring to the table. They may have dealt with people that really did a number on their self-esteem, and so they question kind of the quality of their heart. Is there strength and vulnerability, or am I best suited by kind of keeping my emotions at bay? You've lifted something within them. You've lifted a veil. You've melted down some sort of wall around, and they're wanting to let you into that sacred space within to sort of participate with an element of them that is usually kind of just, it's kept to the side. It hasn't come out yet in this situation, and it feels like it's an element of them that few people see. They don't bring that to the forefront. This isn't a dominant part of their personality. It might even be something where this nature of emotions, sweetness and kind of romanticism, sentimentality, they may have relegated that into their shadow in some way. They think of this as, again, not an attribute. They don't really understand or know kind of the value of that tenderness they hold within. And so this can definitely be an opportunity for you to sort of enter into fresh ground with them, and for them to really understand this is a source of strength rather than something they should be kind of ashamed of and hide away. And they also say, I'm planning to take action soon. So there's a real direct confirmation of that idea of strategy, wanting to make their move, wanting to get things right, get it perfect. They may be something here with kind of making reservations somewhere, waiting for a particular, sort of rite of passage, a birthday or an anniversary, some kind of like graduation, holiday, ceremony, something of that nature, where it almost feels to be something where they're wanting this conversation to be very memorable for the two of you. Whether this is somebody resurfacing from the past or someone you're currently in some variety of connection with, wanting to take things to the next level. A lot of thought and planning going into this, because it's important. It's whatever they want to present. It's not just here for now and gone tomorrow. It's the idea of this is our first step toward, a closer proximity for some people to the idea of forever. For others, if this is still relatively fresh or like a friend that has feelings, it's the idea of it's the first step to our exploration and kind of expansion into the realm of romance. And they're coming at it with sort of the stipulation of the sky's the limit. They don't have limits as far as what they see at this particular point in time is possible between the two of you. So it's like they're taking the lead and then you're in the driver's seat going forward. And it feels to be something, even with the idea we're in the whirlwind together, equal give and take, reciprocity, but it's kind of just like, I'm going to lead with something, I'm going to present you with something, and then I will follow with however far you want to take this in this next kind of stage. They also say, I'm trying not to lose faith. So their nerves might be getting the best of them. They might be getting the jitters. They might have wanted to say something sooner than this, planned an approach and kind of backed out at the last minute. And if so, they have been putting pressure on themselves, kind of chastising themselves, really trying to make sure that they breathe and process all of this and progress in a very methodical fashion, so that there are not further missed opportunities, so that the window of opportunity, the door of opportunity, doesn't just shut and become sealed to them altogether. A sense of kind of feeling all this beautiful energy with you and not wanting it to slip through their fingers, wanting to take steps to solidify or create more of kind of an opening of the conversations where you start to redefine your connection with one another. If it's someone from the past coming in, kind of trying not to lose hope that optimal results will happen. There's a practicality with this, even with the idea of like, I'm planning action, to where they almost feel to understand that it's to be expected that you might be a little bit skeptical of them, especially if it has been a long time in separation. You might be like, okay, what do you want? Why are you coming back here, back into my world, back into my energy after all this time? So they're almost kind of, that element of strategy is like, okay, I'm going to have to put in the work for this. I'm going to have to really sort of prove my worth, or prove that I mean it, or that I mean it this time, or, that I've grown and I've evolved. And so it's almost like a long-term or multifold plan that they're trying to put in place. If it doesn't go well when they approach, and they've got all these contingency plans, they're not just going to give up at one effort. But then it's also something of, respecting your free will, respecting kind of where you are at on your journey. But at the same time wanting to really put in the work, and especially by way of like an apology in the form of changed behavior and action, where they're understanding that this may take some time to kind of build. And also, if it's somebody you're currently dealing with and it's stepping out into new territory, trying not to lose faith that they won't just lean back into, a common coping or trigger mechanism for them, which it feels like is closing off, emotionally speaking. They're wanting to open those doors to the heart, invite you in further, and make sure that they are able to sustain that energy of like someone else in this inner sanctum. So they're very self-aware in the sense of, they know that they've been operating with some degree of kind of keeping themselves very insulated, very isolated from, keeping people at arm's length, not letting anyone in too close. Not just in the situation with you, but it feels kind of like a bigger pattern that may have been the case in the aftermath of some sort of disappointment, some sort of heartbreak, something where in order to kind of carry forth or to recover, maybe it was something very kind of shocking or hurtful. The reaction was just sort of wall off the heart, build the fortress around the heart, pick up the pieces as best as possible, but don't let anyone in close enough to hurt again, or to create that sort of damage again. And then you came along, and all of a sudden that rule book goes out the window. All of a sudden it's like, okay, well, here's this exception. Here's somebody that I feel might be a safe person to kind of bring into that space of vulnerability. So there's a lot of motivation to move forward, but also a mindfulness of kind of the last phase that they have just come out out of or are trying to step out of in their life, wanting to make sure that when they present themselves, it's meaningful and sustainable. They also say negative thoughts get us no results. So this is, again, confirmation of someone who is very aware of their triggers, very aware of their tendencies, is very aware of kind of the role that they have personally played in wherever you find yourselves at this point. And they are very mindful to not let that aspect of themselves or that face of them that was brought out in this situation, very mindful to not let that sort of move back into the position of authority, to where if there's breakthrough, if there's further progress between the two of you, then it's thwarted or undermined due to a degree of like fearing the level of vulnerability that's generated. So they feel to be sort of moving towards you with a lot of anticipation. There's a big conversation that they want to have. They really want to push this to the next level, usher in the next phase between the two of you. But they're also very mindful of kind of getting the circumstances right, getting that conversation right, setting the mood in just the proper way, but then also making sure that they don't get totally swept up in all of this new territory, all of these deep emotions, because there is a lot that they still will be holding back. Not eternally, but it feels like, in doses, in increments, they're wanting to sort of divulge kind of the fullness of what they hold inside for you. But then it's kind of like walking a fine line between how much do I give, how quickly do I sort of open up and show this tenderness within, and then kind of what's the risk that even I will sort of trigger myself, that the intimacy will become too much, and then we're right back where we started. So, then get some initials. This can be a first, middle, or last name of you or your person, or it can spell something out, just whatever resonates for you. Got E, O, S, H, Y, J, R, I, K, O, C, L, H, G, U, N, A, Z, and M. So those are your messages. I hope that they resonated with you and that you enjoyed the reading. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, or share. If you'd like a personal reading, I offer them through my Etsy shop, and there's a link to that in the description box of the video, as well as in the channel section of my page. I offer a variety of pre-recorded video readings, written readings, and channeled letters, including a video version of this reading that involves more cards and more decks. Turnaround time on everything is 5 to 7 days from the time of purchase. I also sell handmade jewelry, dream catchers, and sun catchers if you're interested in checking any of those out as well. And I've launched a second channel here on YouTube, which is called Lady of the Dawn Tarot. There's a link to that in the description box of the video, as well as in the channel section of my page. The format over there consists of readings related to topics other than love and romance. So if you're looking for something a little different, that is the place to find it. I thank you for your support there, as well as for your continued support here on this channel. I hope to see you again in another reading. Please take care and be well. Hi, Group 2. You chose the Amethyst heart. So I'm going to be getting 3 cards from 3 different decks, and let's see, what does your person want you to know right now from their higher self? Okay, and they say, I will come back towards you when the time is right. So someone you are in separation from is, it feels like, making plans energetically to move back in your direction. They may have recently been sort of temperature checking the situation, dropping little hints or clues on their social media, for example, to kind of compare and see, are you responsive to these things? Almost like little encoded messages back and forth on both of your social media pages. So even if they have you blocked, they may be watching you from a kind of a fake profile, for example. This can also be somebody who started asking about you, asking through the grapevine, or even just doing some sleuthing, Googling, trying to sort of find out what's going on with you. Where are you at in your life right now? Are you single? Are you available? What are your priorities? What is your focus? What's your situation look like? If this is somebody that you are still in a connection with, still dealing with right now, they almost might have backed off from the situation, kind of gone within, retreated into their shell. This may be leading to a sense of you wondering, is this going to be kind of the dynamic going forth? Hot and cold, a bit of breadcrumbing that may be happening. You might be starting to have second thoughts about the long-term viability of the situation because it feels like they might have almost just left you hanging with no explanation. And some of that can deal with kind of a trigger, it feels like, that might have happened, something that was taken out of context, something that they saw on social media, or even the sense of almost that they have reached a point in kind of development of feelings, or kind of the level of intimacy between the two of you, that this may have triggered some degree of insecurity within, maybe a tendency toward jealousy, something that in just a very benign sense, they have found themselves almost kind of having these little fits of anger, these little flare-ups at the idea of other people giving you attention, other people spending time with you, but they feel like somebody who maybe isn't prone to jealousy normally, and so this has kind of startled them, caused them to sort of pull back within themselves, to sort of pick at this and analyze, what does this all mean? If this is something where you haven't reached that level of your connection with one another where they feel they have a right to lay claim to you as exclusively theirs, maybe you're just kind of casually dating, there's no official understanding, again, that same energy of like pulling back and saying, why am I having this sort of a reaction? What does this mean? But it's with kind of an energy of introspection in order to be able to plan their next move going forward. This also might be something where the idea of being triggered into jealousy, it might be something that they are not wanting to confront within themselves, and so they're kind of leaning into a space of like, this doesn't feel comfortable, I need to pull my energy back, I need to cool off in some manner, I need to kind of check myself in some way, or create some sort of space or distance, because I'm not sure, kind of, am I reading too much into this, am I overreacting? What does this all mean? Why is this all coming out? But it's definitely a sense of they're kind of like playing with fire in this situation. They almost know that in a way, that sort of leaving you hanging, leaving you with no explanation, just sort of abruptly shifting their energy in this capacity in a way that it's like things might have been going at a very reasonable pace, and then all of a sudden it's a standstill. All of a sudden, like one day they're different, that this is necessarily and reasonably and rationally showing up as a red flag perhaps for you. It's making you second guess the long-term viability of this connection, but they feel to be somebody who's at a stage right now of kind of, this was the best that they could do with sort of the tools that they have available to them. For some people, they're trying to form new tools as far as coming towards you with, something where they're talking about this, maybe instead of just leaping to conclusions, to have some sort of a discussion. This may even be motive or incentive to have that kind of a conversation that creates more of a definitive understanding between the two of you, more kind of parameters of who you are to one another, putting a title on this situation rather than it having just be two people that are kind of spending time with one another, as a solution to sort of justify almost this feeling of just feeling threatened in a way by the idea or the actuality of other people sort of directing attention, flirtation, the possibility of another person coming in and sort of swooping you away. It's something that they're needing to kind of unpack and deal with at this point. They also say, sometimes I imagine how my life with you would feel. So more of that energy of wanting to evolve beyond an uncomfortable phase between the two of you at this point, something that it feels like was definitely prompted by them and for reasons that you're not entirely certain of. What was the motivation? What happened? It's like all of a sudden one day things were going well and then it abruptly changed. This is something where they're in the process of unpacking. For some, they're still just kind of sitting very clenched in the sense of, I feel this jealousy. This doesn't feel good. I feel threatened in this connection. Or even for some, this feels like the energy of bigger feelings were developing. Things were moving along at a very comfortable pace, and all of a sudden they kind of went into panic mode. Almost like, I don't want to be swallowed up by the intensity of these feelings. I don't want to be swallowed up by this connection. I don't want to lose myself to this connection. I don't know if I'm ready to dive in deep. And so it caused them to sort of retreat within themselves, but not give you any sort of explanation about what's the problem, what changed. It feels here like by this energy that you may be, with very good reason, interpreting this as kind of a check mark in the column of, maybe I should disconnect from this situation, that it's kind of a red flag, it's a negative, it's not something which has left a good impression. It's something that they're gonna really have to explain or provide something course correct in a pretty major way in order for this hiccup, this bump in the road between the two of you, this kind of abrupt shift, this drastic action, for that to be something that can be surmounted, that you can move beyond. It's gonna take effort on their part. And so it almost feels like there's this disconnect between sort of, I'm in my shell and I wish that we could just sort of fast forward, cut to the next clip of this connection, and we've gotten over this difficulty. So kind of someone who's in the process of almost trying to manufacture some new tool within themselves as far as how to deal with this sensation which has surged up, and it feels like by no fault on your part. It's something that they've observed. It's something they're very uncomfortable with. That they've almost kind of taken to a very dark or shadowy place. It's like a defensive sort of energy. It's a defense mechanism at this point. But there's an understanding as well that it's kind of like to pivot forward, and there is a desire to transcend beyond. This isn't just somebody who's kind of stewing in their jealousy and is slowly detaching from the connection, but this very extreme action may have severely undermined kind of the path you were moving along. It feels to be something that could lead to growth potential for a lot of people. They're trying to find a way to kind of grow beyond this, to understand this, to feel within themselves and say, what is the bigger picture here? What does this mean? If I feel these feelings of jealousy, what should I do in order to either talk through this, or what kind of emotion is this expressing to me I must accept within myself and bring forth to this individual. If it's been that they have been hesitating about committing, this idea of jealousy may be really sort of putting them in direct confrontation with the fact of, I really do want something solid with this person. I really do want us to be exclusive. I really do want to sort of, stake my claim in this situation so that this isn't just presented as kind of like open season for whatever other romantic prospects or suitors may come in. There's a competitiveness to this. They may sense other competitors around, or again, they've sort of like seen something, misconstrued something, misread something, and it's really kind of made them tuck away into themselves to think. Unfortunately, the manner in which they've done that, it feels like it's created some kind of dissonance here that's going to take work. In addition to the work they're trying to do within themselves, it's going to take work to sort of course correct in this situation also. They also say you are so beautiful inside and out. So again, this is tying into the idea of like the attention of other people. They're wanting to make you theirs. They're wanting to make sure that the two of you, that it's known very publicly that you belong to one another. So this can be something even where you've had like a private connection, but nothing's been announced, nothing's been official. And they have now been confronted very directly or even internally with something that is really, it feels like it's their higher self or their heart almost almost saying you need to do something more in this situation. It's time to move this beyond something that just takes place behind closed doors, just between the two of you. It's just implied. It's just something that's kind of hush hush. There's a need to bring this out for others to see, or create something more solid and stable in terms of the understanding between the two of you, so that you kind of know what to expect. It's the idea of like rewriting the rule book between the two of you, and adding more depth, adding more layers, making more of a colorful connection, where it may have just sort of been like you're moving in the shallow end emotionally speaking, and this is like, okay, we're now embracing more of these emotional depths between the two of us. And so as they're inside kind of licking their wounds, dealing with sort of a bit of bruised ego, hurt pride, shadowy energies of some kind of jealousy, it feels like, that was triggered here. Definitely you are motivation and incentive for them to try and pick up the pace with this situation, to come out of hiding and present something that endeavors to kind of heal the hurt that has been caused, provide some sort of explanation to you, even if they're not going to directly sort of say, hey, I was jealous and I was triggered and so I went within, but now I'm trying to work through that. It's something some people may be that direct and honest, but it feels like a lot of people will just sort of try to present a different level of energy, a different level of investment, a different level of consistency, so that almost like apology is in the form of changed action. It's in the form of giving more to the situation than they have previously, shifting the line of conversation with one another to matters of the heart, to more of the long-term potential and future planning, rather than kind of just continuing to sort of dwell in what you've been to one another. It's taking things a step forward. Also, if this is somebody that you're in no contact with, again, that idea of kind of like suitors that they may have seen sort of moving in, it sparked this jealousy, and they're saying to themselves, why am I jealous? We're in no contact. I ran from this situation. We're not together. Why, and why am I feeling this? And it may have really led to an exploration that there are still feelings there, or feelings they had denied in the first place truly exist, that they are wanting you in their life. They're wanting to be closer to you rather than to continue to drift further away. It may be something where they have been kind of looking you up, feeling the situation out, and they've seen some sort of glow up that's taken place, something where you've repaired kind of the damage or the hurt that was left behind in the wake of this person's departure. And you're looking better than ever. You're vibrant. You're glowing, and it's something where they're wanting to come in closer, almost like a moth to the flame, wanting to kind of get in there, warm themselves by the glow of what you are emanating, energetically speaking. That may have been there to a certain extent or in a certain capacity before, but they were almost oblivious to it. They couldn't see it, or they deliberately sort of shut it out. Now they're being coaxed back in. They're wanting to not just appreciate you from afar, but to find some way to come in from out in the cold, to re-enter your life in a way in which they can try to make up for lost time, or try to repair some of the damage that was done here. They also say, I make peace, love, and healing energy for you. So that is really bringing forth the idea of changes that they are making. And again, that idea of kind of fashioning some sort of new tools, instruments by which to navigate the triggers within themselves, something that helps them to kind of neutralize this sort of shadowy energy of the jealousy that it feels like has been sparked out of nothing other than kind of their heart space telling them you need to invest further. You need to give more to this situation. To continue pouring into this circumstance in the way you have now opens the situation up to not being lasting, not being sustainable or fulfilling in a long-term sense. So it's almost kind of like they're making these plans and preparations to give more, to invest more. They're understanding it's gonna require sort of an investment that is uncharacteristic for them, or that you've not experienced up to this point in this situation, something that really compels you and convinces you beyond a shadow of a doubt that what they have to bring as far as an apology, or some sort of conversation about a desire to go in further with one another, go in deeper to this connection, that they mean it, and that they have the backing behind them in terms of work that they've done, even a degree of self-understanding to be able to at least not run into those same kind of triggers as easily, or other difficulties that you've faced in the connection up to this point in time, or that they've faced in sort of romances before that might have kept them holding back a bit in this situation. Wanting to present you with something that at least is proof of, like, I might not be at kind of the place that I want to be. I might still be a work in progress, as we all are, but I'm trying, I'm endeavoring. This is the progress that I've made. Can we work with this? Are you willing to work with me to try and take steps further? They also say twin soul is awakening. So this is definitely like their higher self is saying, this person's awakening. They are, starting to really get it in a 3D material sense. Some sort of uncomfortable sensation has triggered them into a place of backing up. If this is someone you're in no contact with, all this energy of like jealousy and that kind of abruptly sort of shutting off of this situation, that can be what it was. Some moment of jealousy, a fear within themselves, something that just very spontaneously happened. It might even be something along the lines of they literally just kind of woke up one day and all of a sudden it was like, what if I'm not good enough for this in the long term? What if I dive in deeper and then they find someone else and they leave me? Kind of like the I'll leave you before you leave me cliche there. And it's something to where, regardless of if this is still someone you're in contact with, or if it's someone who's been kind of stewing in an energy of separation, they've definitely turned some sort of corner of coming into this awareness that whatever this reaction is, whatever this action or this energetic pullback, that it's something that is working at a disservice to themselves. It is pulling them further away from the direction of a future potential that they want. It's pulling them further away from the light of this connection, the radiance of who you are. And it's something to where they're starting to kind of awaken a new version of them that is taking control, endeavoring self-mastery over more of these shadowy elements within, these triggers, these wounds, these coping mechanisms, these reactions that have now created some kind of a wedge or a barrier, or distress or confusion that it's going to take action on their part. It's going to take energy and effort on their part now to course correct. So there's a part of them that is telling them very directly, sort of like, is this the path that you want to walk down? Is this the kind of future that you are wanting to build? If you want a future in this situation, is this present sort of state of being, or what has happened here, this kind of collapse of the forward momentum, or the beauty and the kind of the cohesion in this connection, is this the collapse of that? Is that the formula for building toward the future? No. So create something different within to be able to contribute different energy moving forward. So it's kind of like a reckoning that this person's higher self is having with the ego self. In some way, the ego is very triggered, backed in a corner, but it's a beautiful opportunity for that higher self to really come in, really get in and sort of shake this person awake, as far as, again, they're like playing with fire. It's a risk here. If it's someone you're still dealing with, even if it's a no contact or a separation, they've kind of reached the stage of understanding, and which may feel kind of like, oh, it's taken them this long, but especially if you've been in a long-term separation, it's almost like now they're at this point of really seeing the light. Oh, this person won't wait forever. My window of opportunity won't wait forever. What have I really gained in this approach to this situation? If I want something different, I've got to bring something different to the table. And they also say yearning for the day to be together, or yearning for the day we will be together again. So more of that confirmation of them wanting to come out of hiding, wanting to open up emotionally to you, bring softness into the situation to kind of counteract a bit of like swords energy, cold defensiveness, somebody who's very much on guard. They have their wall up. They're not letting you in. They are kind of just suffering in silence at this particular point in time. They're yearning for you. They're yearning to kind of move back toward the light of this connection. There's a degree of regret here that feels to increase almost exponentially the more they sort of analyze what's happened, the more they sort of sit with this, whatever has been triggered within, and kind of, they fast forward like, okay, if I change nothing, if I just sit in this energy, if this is just kind of the way we operate moving forward, even if there's, some kind of a warming and we move back into good energy, if I don't check this part of me that has become jealous, or that is, some degree of insecurity has been triggered, that has elicited this sort of response. That jealousy is like a projection outward, a sense of, kind of the void within, shouting very loudly that this is something to where, they're feeling that it'll be a very lonely sort of path. They're not wanting to disconnect or move further away from you, but are wanting to sort of move back in the direction of where things can start to be repaired. But more of this idea as well of kind of, so they do feel to be sort of in a work in progress as far as fully understanding and cultivating new tools moving forward, fully being willing to kind of get out of their own way and dismantle. For a lot of them, they still feel on kind of like full defensive mode. They're still very much kind of, they've stonewalled the situation. Even if you're dealing with one another, it might be kind of awkward and weird. Something's changed energetically speaking. But from behind this fortress, there is a yearning to almost kind of fast forward, move beyond this difficult stage. That can speak to a bit of kind of compartmentalizing. They're sort of stuffing and suppressing. They're avoiding difficult work within themselves and kind of difficult work going forward to sort of repair the damage that's been done, even in a very subtle way. But it's definitely this yearning for the future potential. I want to get beyond this. I want to move beyond this, and I'm still in the process of figuring out how to do that, what's necessary. And they also say, I'm asking for some time to get myself together first. So there's that confirmation of these new tools that are in the process of being crafted by them, a deeper understanding of their mechanisms. They feel to be somebody who's kind of, as much as they're very much forward thinking, there's a part of them that is also kind of going back in time. What is the root of this? Why do I have this sensation? If it's something that's very new and novel, they're not somebody prone to jealousy. It's something where they're almost kind of retracing their steps, checking in on previous sort of romances that they've had, and kind of like, this feeling wasn't there. It wasn't in this situation. It wasn't in this situation. For some people, it's kind of bringing them around to this reality that they may not have realized or had been in denial about, that they have a lot deeper feelings for you than they had allowed themselves to realize. And kind of this element of what has been triggered has really brought that message home of like, wow, I care about this person a lot more. I care about the longevity of this relationship a lot more than I had allowed myself to admit up to this point in time. And because I hadn't allowed myself to admit that, I was stifling and suppressing the flow of love. And so this fear-based polarity of this kind of jealousy, this irrational sort of reaction, has now come to the surface as a way to pivot back into this kind of center of hurt within, in order to be able to be at that crossroads more acutely of like, are you going to continue moving down that path of fear, which leads to loneliness, it leads to missed opportunities, it leads to kind of more difficulty in repairing the situation, or is it something where the path of love is chosen and kind of work is more consistently done, endeavored, to be able to create those tools within to be able to give something more to the situation. So they're very much in their head at this point. They're very much kind of tossing over all the possibilities in this situation. They don't feel quite ready to sort of let the wall down, let the guard down. If it's someone from the past that's considering re-entering again, they're just kind of in the sleuthing phase. They're snooping around. They're temperature checking. Where are you at? It's part of sort of the strategy. It's part of the incentive. It's part of them being beckoned in the direction of something other than what has been the status quo between the two of you for quite some time. But they are readying themselves, it feels like, to act on this desire to kind of clear away the present circumstance and open the horizon toward building in a future potential sort of way. They also say, I hate that I hurt you. So, a lot of regret that you have had to experience this kind of prickly version of them, sort of the swords up, and they're keeping people away. They're keeping you at a distance. It feels like even something to where this mood or affect may be affecting other areas of their life. They're just on high trigger mode right now, like high alert almost. And it could be something that is creating strain and pressure, not just in the situation with you, other people around them. It's almost like this was the first domino that toppled, and it's kind of created this ripple effect of conflict. They've chosen this route of conflict. Now there's a lot of strife going on. They're very much at war with themselves internally at this point, trying to sort of neutralize and talk themselves back from whatever has been triggered here. This very sharp energy of kind of jealousy and just sort of everything that comes with that. What prompted that? Because this doesn't feel like something that is kind of a situation where this person is getting jealous all the time, where they're possessive, where it's like this is a toxic demonstration, but this doesn't feel to be like a core toxic trait within. It's not like this doesn't feel to be a situation where it's like it's probably in your best interest that they not come back because they have so much toxicity within. That sort of like what you're seeing here is, it's that red flag that kind of predicts what the rest of the relationship is like. This feels like something that really caught them off guard. For a lot of people, this is very uncharacteristic for them. It's something that just might have even been so benign. Even for some people, it was nothing at all. It's like they woke up one day and they were extremely triggered. And so they are understanding that whatever their reaction to that was, that it not only hurts them and they're lonely and yearning and wishing they could kind of fast forward or just sort of erase this unpleasantness and move on to good times, but they're very aware that sort of as much as they're hurting, what was done to you in this circumstance, how they approach this, almost just like shutting down or running off, leaving you with not a lot of answers, like gray rocking you or, full on ghosting you, that this has created pain. This is now something that, in addition to sort of moving beyond the limitation within self, they're going to have to give in order to soothe that hurt, in order to rebuild trust. That is also kind of something that it feels like their higher self is pointing out to them at this point, that this, whatever this is, whatever this fear, whatever this lack is within, it needs to be dealt with, because it's just creating more work and difficulty, and it's putting the future potential of this connection at risk, of failure, because every time, if there were future times that sort of similar triggers or things like this were to occur, it's almost the sense of them understanding that it may be just kind of, they've got to do some sort of major change. They've got to step something up in order to be able to create different results, because if it keeps going along like this, it's sure to collapse the connection overall. Like this is not a conducive response, not a desirable response or a reaction. Rather, it's something that does not serve their best interest. It does not serve the best interest of the connection. It is not in alignment with what their heart is pulling them toward, the feelings that they have within. This is the path of fear, rearing its ugly head in this situation. And so there's a lot of guilt and shame, it feels like, that accompanies this as well, which might be part of also why they're not ready to take some sort of leap of faith forward. If it's somebody that you're currently dealing with and they've gone kind of cold, there may be a slight warming up, but it feels like they could be kind of rooted in this position, at least for a little while, of sort of trying to solve the riddle within, trying to create some sort of a different tool or a strategy or like a coping mechanism, something healthier within, trying to unpack this a little bit, understand this a little bit, so they're able to give to you in a way that creates measurable change in a positive manner. They also say, I feel your love around me constantly. So this connection is definitely an incentive for them to continue to inch their way closer to facing these very uncomfortable parts of themselves, whatever has been stirred or triggered in this situation. So although they're kind of just snooping around, they put up the fortress, they put up the wall, they've kind of pulled themselves back. There is this deep desire to transcend this. And, obviously it's kind of like free will is a factor. There's a lot, this feels like a major lesson some kind of an element within self that goes a lot deeper than just kind of jealousy. It goes to some sort of feeling of insecurity, feeling of lack within, a fear of intimacy. It could be any combination of those things. But this is almost kind of like the door's been opened to some deep shadow work they need to do within. And they could go as deep as they want with this, or kind of get to the point of it's too uncomfortable. And then that will dictate kind of what's possible in this situation, what you're willing to put up with, what they have to give, and kind of, is this sustainable? Can this be resurrected? But there is, with all of that, it feels to be kind of a space where the future is very unwritten. There's still sort of a work in progress. They need some more time to kind of unravel this knot that they find themselves in. But there is a desire to kind of bring forth healing energy, to create peace as kind of an antidote to sort of the pain that their even just confusing actions or abrupt sort of withdrawal has caused in the situation. So I'm going to get some initials. This can be a first, middle, or last name of you or this person, or can spell something out, just whatever resonates for you. Got R, O, G, V, D, E, S, L, K, W, U, L, I, Y, M, M, B, C, U, and T. So those are your messages. I hope that they resonated with you and that you enjoyed the reading. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, or share. If you'd like a personal reading, I offer them through my Etsy shop, and there's a link to that in the description box of the video, as well as in the channel section of my page. I offer a variety of pre-recorded video readings, written readings, and channeled letters, including a video version of this reading that involves more cards and more decks. Turnaround time on everything is 5 to 7 days from the time of purchase. I also sell handmade jewelry, dream catchers, and sun catchers if you're interested in checking any of those out as well. And I've launched a second channel here on YouTube, which is called Lady of the Dawn Tarot. There's a link to that in the description box of the video, as well as in the channel section of my page. The format over there consists of readings related to topics other than love and romance. So if you're looking for something a little different from me, that is the place to find it. I thank you for your support there, as well as for your continued support here on this channel. I hope to see you again in another reading. Please take care and be well. Hi, Group 3. I chose the Obsidian Heart. So I'm going to be getting 3 cards from 3 different decks, and let's see, what does your person want you to know right now from their higher self? say, I'm so proud of who you have become. So if this is somebody that you have been in separation from, a no contact situation, they have definitely looked you up. They're watching you from afar. They may have been watching you the whole time, kind of charting your progress, watching your growth and evolution, very inspired by your priorities, the way you're presenting yourself, maybe habits that you've broken free from, that whether they know about this or you're public about these things in a very obvious manner, it is nevertheless translating in your energy, a glow, a vibrancy about you that is drawing them in very deeply. Even in the silence, they're congratulating you. This is almost a sense of somebody who in many ways is your biggest fan. And this could be quite a progression and evolution for them. They may have really run from their feelings, run from this connection for quite some time, but they feel that they have moved into a place of surrender. They may not be ready to move back towards you yet, but they're watching you from a place of just taking you in, taking this whole experience in. Really sort of feeling into the nature and depth of what may have existed within them for quite some time, only they weren't ready to express that. They had shut down possibilities and potential, but the flame they held for you, it never was extinguished. It still exists within. They're still cradling and sheltering that. And almost these glimpses that they catch of you, or when they very directly are sort of tapping into your energy, looking at you, seeing you in some way, most likely through like social media, for example, or this could also be somebody that has some kind of access to you in like a physical and direct way. So maybe they're kind of going by your work, going by your house, catching glimpses of you. Maybe they have caught a glimpse of you. They've heard about you through the grapevine. In some way, they've made contact between the version of you now, and it's really kind of blowing their mind in terms of who you were when the two of you parted ways, who you last were, and kind of this progress, this evolution of who you've really stepped into. They see you as somebody who's standing in the fullness of their power, a very self-loving energy. You're holding kind of your wounds in a place where the light is able to shine through these kind of cracks and sort of wounds that have occurred within your heart, things you had been struggling with in your life, and you've put your pieces back together into a very beautiful mosaic that they are proud of, they are inspired by, and they're very compelled to sort of watch and observe, but it feels like also with the intention of kind of moving in closer when the time is right. And they also say nothing really makes sense without you. So this can definitely be somebody who might have thought they would be better on their own, they would be better away from you, away from this connection, and it's almost like they're having a difficult time sort of finding their true north. It's like an ungrounded compass just spinning round and round. They've definitely, the absence and kind of how you have handled this has really informed them, and it's really educated them of sort of the necessity of maybe work that they need to do within themselves to create a sense of wholeness within themselves, but also this kind of element of the two of you were better together than apart. You were stronger together than apart. They may be also somebody who's very inspired by something that you are very public about as far as your own healing and evolution journey, some way in which you're in alignment with your path and your purpose in this lifetime. You've made any kind of changes, life shifts, glow ups, things of that nature. It's made them start to question kind of how they've been moving through the world, who they are as a person, what are their core values versus what has kind of been enculturated into them, taught to them, templated within them through their upbringing. And it almost feels like they're looking to you maybe as a direct example, if sort of your path and your purpose has led you into a place of kind of now giving back to others in a public way. This is definitely somebody who is kind of watching you in that sense, paying very close attention to your platforms or your profiles, but it may also just be something where they're registering something on a subconscious level through kind of what they're reading off of your energy, what they see off of your glow, something that it's awakened or sparked within, something that it's communicated energetically that transcends words even. It's pure vibration, it's pure sensation, to where it's almost in a way you're like a companion or a beacon, a guide or a way shower for them. You're this inspiration for them, almost like if you could do this heavy lifting of transformation and stepping into a better version of self, then all the excuses that they've had in place, or the unawareness that they've had up to this point in time that has kept them from a kind of a similar exploration, that's off the table. There's now kind of this incentive to move more deeply into this place of questioning. It's definitely inspired by you. There's a lot of motivation to kind of ready themselves in some way to meet you and match this new vibration that you're holding. And it's also a degree of kind of the dissolution of the ego that's taking place. Their renewed sort of fascination or interest in you in this connection, and kind of what they couldn't see before, who you've developed into and what they are now able to kind of glimpse or behold of you. It's definitely moved them into a place of shedding certain things, questioning certain things. They're not yet sure kind of who they will become on the other side of this transformation, what that journey holds for them. It feels like a lot of kind of maybe ancestral healing that they're trying to do or look at, deep shadow work, kind of, this may be somebody who's sort of been forced through a series of tower moments to kind of move into a place where the universe has humbled them. They in some way feel to be kind of taking the initiative on other work they need to do within themselves so that they don't have to be forced into other tower moments. And they're looking to you as an example of kind of a willingness to confront the totality of oneself. They're seeing you in a very balanced light. You on some level have achieved mastery of kind of, you are the yin to your own yang. You are the balance of masculine and feminine within yourself. And this is something that they're wanting that, but not from a place of wanting to take or siphon that energy. It's almost sort of like, without directly asking, they're trying to take a cue from your playbook, how you did this, and then sort of translate that into, how that might be accomplished for them or what's necessary for them in their life. And they also say, you are my light in the darkest times. So there's that confirmation right there. You are definitely a beacon. You are a guide. You are an inspiration. You are a way shower. Even if this is something where, your own personal journey, you don't discuss very much of that. It's something that, it's very private. You sort of keep that to yourself. This person is able to like read your energy. You're very linked with one another. Your energy is speaking to them. Your higher self is speaking to their higher self, and it's kind of the energy of, I now surrender. Point me in the direction that I need to go within. Accompany me. Be this companion with me. It feels like for a lot of you, this person's higher self was a companion with you through some process of transformation and change. You may have come to an understanding of that at some point, and there's a degree of gratitude that you will always have for them kind of being there with you as you sort of learn to help yourself. You saved yourself from some degree of limitation or difficulty, either through this connection or sort of the snowball effect that may have had upon you, like dark night of the soul energy of so much changing within yourself and how you move through the world, that now kind of the tables have turned and you are operating as kind of a guardian spirit, a companion for this person as they are endeavoring this journey. It feels like they've already begun this trek deep within themselves. They've already dismantled a lot this is really bringing the energy of like a no contact situation. And so something where you'd be surprised kind of what they've cleared away already, the heavy lifting that they've done to kind of excavate some portion of their life. Already they are in many ways a changed version from who you were dealing with before, but they're not done with that process. There's something that's very voluntary about this at this time. Again, like tower moments that may have occurred, that might have been part of that earlier initial phase of shedding. They've now come into a place of understanding, I don't need to wait for the ceiling to cave in. I can voluntarily sort of make these adjustments, strengthen things, clear away the clutter, do this maintenance on my life and on myself in order to, kind of step into circumstances and vibrations inside and out that really match that higher frequency or what I'm trying to build toward, what I'm trying to grow toward. And in this process, they feel you energetically. They're almost looking to the glow that you have and sort of calibrating their own sort of dials and buttons within, and sort of like, how do I match that frequency? How do I cultivate that same aura, or equivalent of like an energy within myself? What needs to kind of go out of my life? What needs to go out of the internal landscape? What do I need to bring in or strengthen in order to be able to kind of rise into that most radiant version of self? They also say, I need to walk away. So it feels like they've already begun this process of cutting away from habits, disconnecting from lower vibrational connections, things they might have been struggling with that you are not aware of, things they had been struggling with or that had been obstacles in this connection in the past, that might be sort of what you'd be surprised to learn, people that they no longer associate with, things that have changed in their dynamic with like friends and family, third parties that were in this situation. It's almost like plans and preparations are made to exit that situation, to evacuate that situation. For some people, they've already done that. They've already cut the cord, yet they are not approaching you yet because they are understanding that there's some other kind of work that is needing to be done, rather than coming to you in a space of, okay, I've created this void, let me take your light and fill that emptiness within me, with what you have to provide, with what you have to emanate. It's a sense of, okay, I've created this void within, let me find my own light, let me breathe life into that, let me turn up the volume on that quality within, so that when I approach, we are in a like frequency. It is more balanced and reciprocal than how we were able to sort of meet and participate with one another previously. And they also say it is time to bloom. So yeah, they are definitely very actively engaged in a process of shedding and growth. They are understanding and working with kind of the idea of manifestation, working with energies, space that is cleared. They're being more mindful of the seeds of potential that are planted. This may be somebody who is really starting to activate or lean into some creative gifts within, parts of themselves that they had relegated to the shadow, that they felt very shameful about, paths they had not pursued in their life. This could be somebody who, their professional situation has changed. Some people could have gone back to school. They could be in many ways sort of redefining their life, taking on healthy habits, cutting away from addictions, or, even kind of like toxic mindsets, grief, or sort of fear surrounding love that they'd been holding on to in the past that may have thwarted this connection, prevented them from investing more fully or investing at all in this situation. It feels like they're really proactively trying to sort of disconnect from a lot of these self-limiting patterns within, but with the interest and intention and kind of the corresponding action of sort of like, what I clear away, I'm going to fill that space with something better. So mantras, affirmations, energy work may even be something that they're engaged in. Getting Reiki, working with crystals, working with, doing yoga, meditating, things that might, they might be somebody on a very spiritual path at this point, which could present as quite different from the person you were dealing with before. And it could be something they're just doing behind closed doors. They're opening their mind to different potentials. They're kind of creating this unity between mind, body, and soul in a way that they feel to be almost, they were fragmented before, very disconnected from their emotional body before. And so that change could be almost a level of kind of bringing these separate pieces into a state of harmony within. But it still feels to be, kind of, there's more that needs to blossom. There's more that needs to bloom. There's more that they're like not satisfied with the version of them right now, and so they're not ready to approach yet. They're kind of just watching, kind of taking notes, getting this inspiration. The two of you really, it feels like this person in a way, sort of even from their higher self, is really encouraging you to continue along your path of empowerment, whatever you've done, whatever you're doing to kind of get to this place where you're at now. Turn your mojo up onto its full high octane level. They're liking this. They're wanting you to do more of that. And they are also really feeling and sensing that you're almost kind of coaching, assisting, being this energetic support system to them, or perhaps for some of you in a very direct way, depending on, kind of what you're doing. Some of you may be in the spiritual community, you may be healers, you may have platforms, things of that nature. And it's something where, for a lot of you, this person is taking in the information you put out there. It's helping them to sort of move along their path, to feel supported and seen, just as you're helping, other people. Many different people feel supported and seen. Your person is among those. They are that fan in the audience, kind of watching from the shadows, cheering you on, and really taking something very positive, very beneficial from this. It feels like they're also seeking out other answers for themselves, finding deeper meaning, questioning the life they've been living, and really doing some heavy lifting to break free from some patterns within themselves and within their life. They also say yearning for the day we can be together again. So they are wanting to move beyond the stagnancy, move beyond the silence. They want to cross that ocean of time in order to kind of ground into material reality. All these feelings that they are kind of newly understanding that still exist within them. They want to introduce you to this version of who they are. So almost more than a reconciliation, it feels like this person's kind of holding it in the place of, I want to reintroduce myself to you. You haven't met this version of me yet. We are virtually strangers, no matter how complex and long your history with one another is. This is someone who's definitely they're on the upswing. They're changing their life in a very beautiful way. It feels like they've already kind of broken free from a lot of things that had limited them. They've really gotten out of their own way in a major capacity, but there's still more work to do before they're kind of ready to bring this version of them out into the light, out of the shadows and into your direct awareness. But it's definitely something where, there is this longing, there is this pull to move back into your direction. It's almost like and I'm hearing, I finally get it now. So maybe changes that you had been encouraging or that you'd been leading by example, they finally get it. They finally understand the nature of the journey that you're on. They finally understand what they need to do, kind of a bigger task for them in this lifetime. Ways in which they've been sort of handed a series of challenges, and they may have just leaned into some kind of coping mechanisms, trying to just get by, trying to just make it through the day, trying to just deal or endure. They get it now that there is the real potential for them to thrive, but it requires work on their part. And they also say, I have the desire to see the world with you. So they're definitely wanting to come out of the shadows, come out into the light of day, wrap up a cycle that you have been in with one another, and take a leap of faith in a new direction, moving beyond sort of the limitations of the past. And it feels like what they will have to bring to the table is measurable change of, I am a new version of me. I clearly recognize you as a new version of you. It didn't work between us in the past for various reasons. Now perhaps the time is right for us to really lay a solid foundation rather than whatever kind of those faulty layers were that existed between the two of you in the past. They also say, I can hear and feel you so strongly. So this can tie into that idea of, like, for some of you who may have a platform, or you put things out there on social media, or just whatever you do to try and give back and to help and to enlighten, to encourage others. This can be that confirmation of, like, your words, your message, what you're delivering, even just energetically. They are observing you in real time in the 3D sense. There's definitely an energetic, like, higher self connection, but there's also a component here of consciously 3D physically. This person watches, this person is aware, this person seeks you out. They're very familiar with where you are now in your particular path, what you're doing, what you have going on in your life, and it's registering for them. It's finally reaching them at a core level because they're ready to hear, they're ready to see, their eyes are open. This can also speak that, aside from kind of that direct contact, or for those of you that don't have some kind of a platform, you're not putting things like that out there. It's, you're just kind of in sort of a mundane, ordinary reality. You're keeping that segment of yourself kind of behind closed doors, and maybe you don't have social media at all. This can tie into sort of that energetic bond between the two of you. The telepathy is strong. The heart-to-heart exchange of energy is strong. Just in terms of when they kind of think about you, when they sort of reach beyond their own aura and touch upon yours, that frequency is what they're striving to almost calibrate themselves to. It goes beyond just sort of the physical examples. They're not trying to mimic the life that you are living. They are trying to match your frequency, and it's a very kind of subtle delicate kind of ever-changing balance, just as you are constantly in this phase of sort of ebbing and flowing into this kind of renewed or even kind of ever-evolving version of yourself, so too is your person learning to kind of go with that process of being kind of that ever progressing version, rather than a fixed reality of like best version of self as a destination. When I get there, all the work is done. They're starting to understand that kind of this path, this process of really rising and raising in frequency. This is something which it's kind of never ending. There's challenges and victories throughout that kind of course, but the other option is stagnation. It's limitation. It's something very linear. It's the life they were living before, which has kind of ceased to have meaning. It is no longer comfortable. It is no longer tolerable. It hasn't been for quite some time, and they've already taken major steps toward shedding some of that discomfort, letting the light into their soul, letting their soul shine through very brilliantly. And it's something to where this work they've done to clear within, it may have cleared up some kind of energetic channel between the two of you. So this can definitely tie into the energy of where you might have felt that this person has gone cold, they've gone silent, you don't feel the connection anymore. You may have thought to yourself, I've outgrown this, I've completed it, I'm done with that. In many ways, yeah, you outgrew a version of this, but this is really indicating that this person is caught up with you. They're catching up with you in a certain level. They're wanting to reintroduce you. They're tapping back into that frequency. They still feel you. You're that beacon. You're that light on the horizon that is urging them to kind of become that light within this kind of darkness that they are exploring within. And with that is sort of, you're providing them this sort of sustenance. You're providing them this kind of guidance. You are this guiding light to them in many ways. And they also say, I want to see you. So more confirmation of kind of like watching you from afar, Page of Swords, sort of lurking in the shadows, but with good intentions. But it's the energy of they definitely want to transcend beyond that. They don't just want to be somebody that's on the outskirts of your life. They don't just want to remain a spectator in this situation. They are working to kind of build some cohesion within themselves, some major chapters and cycles that they've closed out of, but they're kind of not happy with sort of other big things that they're still needing to work through, maybe even more time that they need to sort of root in and ground down into this new version of them before they feel comfortable presenting you with like, this is who I am and I can demonstrate that this is consistent because these changes have been in place, or these new habits that I've cultivated, they've become a part of my life in such a deep way, such a lasting way that it's kind of, this is who I am. And so it's something to where, it feels like they'll continue to watch, the idea of telepathy, signs back and forth. This feels, for most people, this is very consciously. They may be, somebody who kind of understands energy now. They've opened their eyes to a wider perception of the world. They're participating with this. They're watching you. They're very deliberately sort of sending that loving energy your way, sending that invitation about communicate with me in this fashion. I'm just letting you know that I'm here. Let's continue this dynamic in this way, but it is with the intention of kind of stepping in deeper, continuing this work within self with sort of this yearning about, I want to move back in your direction. I want to cross this sort of ocean of time so that we can formally introduce ourselves to this new version of who we have each become. So I'm going to get some initials. This can be a first, middle, or last name of you or your person, or it can spell something out, just whatever resonates for you. Okay, we've got S, F, V, P, A, N, U, W, Y, I, M, C, G, G, M, and V. So, those are your messages. I hope that they resonated with you and that you enjoyed the reading. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, or share. If you'd like a personal reading, I offer them through my Etsy shop, and there's a link to that in the description box of the video, as well as in the channel section of my page. I offer a variety of pre-recorded video readings, written readings, and channeled letters, including a longer video version of this reading that involves more cards and more decks. Turnaround time on everything is 5 to 7 days from the time of purchase. I also sell handmade jewelry, dream catchers, and sun catchers if you're interested in checking any of those out as well. And I've launched a second channel here on YouTube, which is called Lady of the Dawn Tarot. There's a link to that in the description box of the video, as well as in the channel section of the page. And the format over there consists of readings related to topics other than love and romance. So if you are looking for something a little different from me, that is the place to find it. I thank you for your support there, as well as for your continued support here on this channel. I hope to see you again in another reading. Please take care and be well.